Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 superhero movies of all time.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
For this list, we're looking at the absolute best live-action films centered on the mightiest of heroes and the most super of friends. We're leaving off animated superhero movies for now, because even with 20 entries to fill, this list was not easy to narrow down. What's your favorite superhero movie? Let us know in the comments. Number 20, X-Men First Class. Following a series of highs and lows, First Class breathed new life into the X-Men franchise.
No, Havoc. We have to call him Havoc. That's his name now. And we were thinking, you should be Professor X, and you should be Magneto.
Exceptional.
Of all the X-Men films, this prequel came the closest to capturing the fun of the 90s cartoon that introduced many of us to the franchise. As vibrant and humorous as the film can be, it never forgets the core theme of X-Men, prejudice, which can be more complicated than good versus evil.
Here you have the chance to be part of something much bigger than yourself.
Yes, Charles Xavier is good and Sebastian Shaw is evil, but how do you categorize Eric Lyncher? We finally get to see the tragedies, friendships, and disagreements that define Magneto, with Michael Fassbender naturally slipping into the role.
They'll fear us, and that fear will turn to hatred. Not if we stop a war. Not if we can prevent, sure, not if we risk our lives doing so. Would they do the same for us? We have it in us to be the better men. We already are.
James McAvoy is equally convincing as a young Professor X, with their dynamic proving the film's driving force. Number 19, Zack Snyder's Justice League. The theatrical cut of Justice League had many problems, the biggest being that it wasn't one artist's vision. After years of fan campaigning, Warner Media finally released the Snyder Cut, appropriately titled Zack Snyder's Justice League. While audiences have polarizing feelings on Snyder, this director's cut finds him at his best, with an emphasis on visual storytelling, massive set pieces, and the gravitas that was missing from Joss Whedon's cut. The 4-hour runtime might intimidate some, but Snyder earns it with Darkseid's introduction and more development for all our heroes, especially Ray Fisher's Cyborg.
He's dead. What? My father. I didn't save him. I couldn't. Oh my God.
With every frame, you sense Snyder's passion to not only deliver on the insurmountable fan expectations, but to also give his late daughter Autumn a beautiful tribute. Number 18, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was the superhero movie that audiences had been waiting for in more ways than one. After two mixed bags and Suicide Squad, this film finally got down what the DCEU should be. Grand and epic, but also humorous, romantic, and inspiring. In addition to renewing interest in this cinematic universe, Wonder Woman finally debunked the age-old Hollywood myth that female-led superhero movies can't sell tickets. All you need is a director and performer who can do the titular heroine justice. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot create a Wonder Woman who we want to follow into battle. Alan Heinberg's screenplay delivers a compelling arc for Diana as she witnesses the best and worst humanity has to offer, ultimately choosing to fight for love.
It's about what you believe. And I believe in love.
Number 17, Guardians of the Galaxy. Some have argued that the MCU keeps recycling a proven formula, although Marvel has taken more risks than many give them credit for. While Guardians of the Galaxy is an iconic IP now, that was not the case going into 2014.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by.
Star-Lord.
Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Guys?
Not only was the comic among Marvel's more obscure titles, but a tree, a raccoon, and Andy Dwyer did not scream automatic blockbuster. Yet James Gunn successfully brought these bizarre elements together, turning in one of the MCU's funniest, most visually stunning, and surprisingly emotional films.
Why are you doing this? Why?
We are
A film that opens with the heavy-handed death of a parent and ends with Howard the Duck should not work. Somehow, though, Gunn hits every emotional beat he aims for. Like the Guardians themselves, the oddest combinations are often the best.
Immortal! How?
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Number 16, The Batman. With every new incarnation of Batman, the filmmakers run the risk of retreading on all too familiar territory.
You really could be doing more for this city. Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
Although Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan paved the way for the Batman, director Matt Reeves makes this version his own. He does so by focusing on a younger, more inexperienced Bruce Wayne, who's rarely seen out of costume.
It's Kinsey Narcotics. He's one of the guys that got into it with at the Iceberg Lounge. What are you saying, Kinsey moonlights for the Penguin? Alright, moonlights just a cup.
Reeves not only puts a stronger emphasis on Wayne's alter ego, but also the character's detective skills. Batman meets his match in Paul Dano's Riddler, who's intimidating and creepy without ever feeling like a Joker wannabe. Zoe Kravitz makes for a feisty yet layered Catwoman, while Colin Farrell transforms into the Penguin.
I got you! I got you! Take that, you friggin' psycho! I got you!
Reeves's Gotham strikes the ideal balance between grounded and otherworldly, delivering possibly the best-looking interpretation we've seen in live action. Number 15, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Captain America: The First Avenger was an old-school throwback to a forgotten era of Golden Age heroes. The Winter Soldier completely shifts gears, with Cap now in modern day.
Internet, so helpful. Been reading that a lot, trying to catch up.
Marvin Gaye, 1972 Trouble Man soundtrack. Everything you missed, jammed into one album.
I'll put it on the list.
The red, white, and blue optimism of its predecessor is replaced with something colder and more sophisticated. That doesn't mean there isn't room for humor, fun, and strong moments of camaraderie.
Was that your first kiss since 1945?
That bad, huh?
I didn't say that.
Well, it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying.
No, I didn't. I just wondered how much practice you've had.
You don't need practice.
Everybody needs practice.
Aside from developing Steve Rogers into a more complex hero, we'd argue that this was the film that elevated Black Widow from being just another Avenger to one of the MCU's best characters. With the addition of Sam Wilson and the Winter Soldier's dark origins, the Russo brothers turn in a conspiracy thriller worthy of comparison to the best espionage films.
If you want to stay ahead of me, Mr. Secretary, you need to keep both eyes open.
Number 14, Deadpool. Although far from the first comedic superhero movie, Deadpool stood out for several reasons.
Oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie? I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with pulverine.
It took place in a continuity that had been played mostly with a straight face for over 15 years. Up until this point, the X-Men movies had been strictly PG-13 rated, with rationed profanities. In classic Deadpool fashion, this movie threw out the rulebook and did whatever it wanted. It also delivered what the fans wanted: hilarious fourth wall breaks, hard R action, and Ryan Reynolds embodying the character he was born to play.
I'm all about long, sullen silences, followed by mean comments, followed by more silences. So what's it gonna be, huh? Long, sullen silence or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
It showed that not every film based on a Marvel property needed apocalyptic stakes or a $100 million plus budget. The smaller scale works to the film's advantage, relying more on wit, self-awareness, and smartassery. Number 13, Thor Ragnarok. While the first Thor movie was solid, The Dark World is often regarded as one of the MCU's lesser outings. Ragnarok is such an overhaul that it almost feels like the first true Thor movie, especially with the introduction of characters like Valkyrie, the Grandmaster, and good old Korg.
My name is Korg. I'm kind of like the leader in here. I'm made of rocks, as you can see, but don't let that intimidate you. You don't need to be afraid unless you're made of scissors. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke for you.
It's arguably the first true Hulk movie as well. At the same time, the film continues to build upon story arcs established in previous films, namely Loki's redemption and his dynamic with Thor. Taika Waititi directs with the visual flair of an 80s music video and the comedic energy of an 80s road trip movie.
Nope. We are going through the big one.
The devil's anus.
Anus? Wait. Who's anus?
For the record, I didn't know it was called that when I picked it.
It possesses the gravitas one would expect from the God of Thunder, but the film doesn't take itself too seriously either. Number 12, Captain America: Civil War. Throughout the Infinity Saga, the Captain America movies perhaps went through the most drastic transformation. This makes sense given the time leap, forcing Steve Rogers to adapt to modern day.
We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
If we don't do this now, it's gonna be done to us later.
While Rogers remains a pure-hearted soul to the end, war isn't always as straightforward as good guys versus bad guys. Sometimes both sides have valid standpoints, turning friends into enemies. In fighting for what he believes is right, Captain America goes from Boy Scout to rebel with a cause.
We're outside the law on this one. So if you come with us, you're a wanted man.
Yeah, well, what else is new?
Civil War is practically an Avengers movie, with Spider-Man making his long-awaited MCU debut along with Black Panther.
Captain.
Your Highness.
However, the Russos never lose sight of the central conflict between Cap, Iron Man, and the Winter Soldier. In the end, we don't know who to root for. Number 11, Spider-Man: No Way Home. No Way Home is one of those movies that gives the audience everything they asked for and even more.
That was it.
Wow. That's good.
Right?
That's better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's tenures as the web-slinger had their highs, but ultimately ended with thuds. No Way Home gives Maguire and Garfield the finales they deserve, while bringing back some fan-favorite villains too. As crowded as the film is, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is still at the heart of this web.
We can't send them back. Not yet.
Why?
Oh, some of these guys are gonna die.
Parker. It's their fate.
Whereas his past two standalone movies were coming-of-age stories, this film sees Peter thrust into adulthood. For all the good times the movie provides, it leaves us with a loss of innocence that's integral to Peter's growth.
She told me that with great power comes great responsibility. Wait, what? How do you know that?
Uncle Ben said it.
Honestly, it is a masterclass in juggling tones, characters, and storylines without missing a beat. Number 10, The Avengers. Crossovers and cinematic universes are common now. Over a decade ago, though, the idea of several Marvel superheroes teaming up in a live-action film with a $200 million plus budget seemed like a pipe dream. That dream became a reality in 2012, and cinema was forever changed.
We learned that not only are we not alone, but we are hopelessly, hilariously outgunned.
My people want nothing but peace with your planet.
But you're not the only people out there, are you? And you're not the only threat. The world's filling up with people who can't be matched.
While the Avengers supplied the spectacular action audiences anticipated, it's the in-sync character interactions that made this something special. The heroes bounce quips off each other so naturally, resulting in some of the superhero genre's most memorable exchanges. You could quote just about any line of dialogue from the film and somebody would reply,
I understood that reference.
The visuals also worked their way into the zeitgeist, with the climactic group shot becoming the stuff of legend. Number 9, Superman. Richard Donner's Superman is generally considered the first great superhero movie. The then unprecedented budget of $55 million reflected the important story the filmmakers were aiming to tell. The money was put to effective use, with effects that made audiences believe that a man could fly.
What the hell's that?
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
While effects have come a long way since then, we've yet to see another actor surpass Christopher Reeve's layered performance as the definitive Superman.
Where do you hail from?
Well, it's kind of hard to explain, actually. See, I'm from, well, pretty far away. Another galaxy, as a matter of fact. I come from a planet called Krypton.
Margot Kidder's Lois Lane, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, and John Williams' musical score are equally iconic in a film that gets Superman right in ways no other feature has. Superman 2 came close, but over 40 years later, the original remains the red, yellow, and blue standard. Number 8. Batman. Speaking of definitive superhero movies, Tim Burton's Batman seemed unsurpassable for the longest time. For some, it still is. While there's one other Dark Knight movie we'd rank higher, nobody can deny that Burton's Batman was a game changer. Whereas Donner's Superman brought class to superhero movies, Burton brought a darkness that hadn't been seen on such a scale. Gotham has never been more gothic, and Danny Elfman's musical score is the definition of triumphant. Although Jack Nicholson is tailor-made to play the Joker, the real surprise was Michael Keaton, who makes us believe that Bruce Wayne is crazy enough to dress as a bat, but reserved enough that people wouldn't immediately catch on. Whoever your favorite Batman is, nobody nailed this line like Keaton.
I'm Batman.
Number 7. Avengers Endgame. When the first Avengers hit theaters, we assumed superhero crossovers would never get more ambitious. As well as the original holds up, no film has made us feel the size of this cinematic universe like Endgame.
Are you seriously telling me that your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future? Is it? No. Good, you had me worried there, because that'd be horseshit.
The second half of this two-part story arc is like 3 movies for the price of one. The first is a solemn reflection on the previous movie's events. The second is a love letter to the past decade of Marvel movies, complete with a time heist.
We go back, we get the stones before Thanos gets them. Thanos doesn't have the stones. Problem solved.
Bingo.
That's not how it works.
Well, that's what I heard.
The third is the ultimate showdown where every character, and we do mean every character, gets at least one satisfying moment.
Avengers!
Assemble.
In an age where many franchises struggle to stick the landing, this truly felt like everything the Infinity Saga was building towards. Number 6. Iron Man. It's the film that didn't just launch a successful trilogy, but an entire cinematic universe.
Mr. Stark, you become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet.
Even if Iron Man had simply been a standalone movie, it still would have exceeded all expectations. When you think about it, the fact that this movie turned out as well as it did is miraculous. Director Jon Favreau wasn't known for action, while Robert Downey Jr. was struggling to shake his controversial past. The script wasn't finished when shooting commenced, requiring the actors to improvise a fair deal of dialogue, including Downey Jr.'s final remark to the press.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
On top of all that, Iron Man wasn't especially well known to mainstream audiences in 2008. Now, thanks to this film, we all know that Tony Stark is Iron Man. Number 5. Logan. Although Deadpool had already brought X-Men into R-rated territory, Logan was a different beast entirely. For all its ups and downs, superhero movies wouldn't be what they are today without X-Men, and Logan was the franchise's most daring outing to date.
I know what you're hiding, amigo. The old cue ball south of the border.
What do you want?
A little cooperation.
Director James Mangold redefined what a superhero movie could be, trading flashy visuals for a bleak, unforgiving backdrop reminiscent of an apocalyptic western. There isn't a day to save anymore, but living to see tomorrow is considered a victory.
What is she? She's your daughter, Logan. Alkali has your genetic code.
Not just mine.
Logan.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Logan.
Just stop.
Heroes who once seemed invincible are pushed beyond their limits on the road to redemption and salvation. For all the brutality, it's also a touching family drama, with Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Daphne Keane giving career best performances as 3 generations of X-Men. Number 4. Black Panther. Logan was the first comic book superhero movie to receive a Screenplay Oscar nomination. But Black Panther went even further. This Best Picture nominee wasn't merely another MCU movie. It was a cultural milestone for representation.
My king.
Stop it. Stop it.
Of course, representation alone doesn't secure a film's place in the zeitgeist. To truly make an impact, the characters have to be identifiable, the drama needs to be compelling, and the world must spring to life. Director Ryan Coogler accomplished all of the above, celebrating Black culture on an unprecedented scale.
Y'all sitting up here comfortable. Must feel good. It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder. Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
Of all the movies produced during his time as Disney CEO, Bob Iger said that he was proudest of Black Panther. We can see why. It is a landmark that's still making a difference.
We let the fear of our discovery stop us from doing what is right. No more.
Wakanda and Chadwick Boseman forever. Number 3, Spider-Man 2. Before there was the MCU, there was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and its superior sequel. Spider-Man 2 in particular set a precedent for all future Marvel movies. At the time, it was the funniest and most visually impressive superhero movie yet. What surprised critics like Roger Ebert, though, was the human story. Although Donner's Superman and Burton's Batman gave us layered heroes, Spider-Man 2 delved deeper into the realities that superheroes would face. Peter Parker isn't much different from the average college student balancing studies, relationships, and paying the rent. What sets him apart is one enormous responsibility with few rewards. Throw in Alfred Molina as one of the greatest supervillains, and you have a superhero movie that evolved the genre to new frontiers.
What do you want?
I want you to find your friend, Spider-Man. Tell him to meet me at the West Side Tower at 3 o'clock.
Number 2, Avengers: Infinity War. The MCU has taken up nearly half this list, but Infinity War may be this cinematic universe's most impactful entry thus far.
Where's your gun?
I don't know. Should have been having a thing.
There's no time for a thing. That's the thing right there. Let's go.
Although Endgame had an even bigger cast, Thanos alone propelled Infinity War into top-tier territory. After several years of build-up, Thanos firmly established himself as the MCU's most physically daunting villain. What makes Thanos so intimidating, though, are his dangerous mindset and identifiable motivations.
And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution.
Genocide.
But random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass.
From Thanos' perspective, he's a hero willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. Following the trajectory of other heroes' journeys, Thanos emerges victorious.
You should have gone for the head.
On the other side of the mirror, however, Thanos' triumph is the biggest failure for the real heroes. The grim ending is one for the ages, reducing the audience to piles of ashes. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Finally hearing the public's demands, the studio gave us an X-Men movie with obvious CGI claws, Deadpool's mouth sewn shut, and not as much focus on Wolverine as the title suggests. You get us, Fox! Okay, our real top pick is no joke. Number 1, The Dark Knight. At this point, The Dark Knight's status as the best superhero movie isn't a matter of opinion. It's essentially a fact that few would argue against.
You'll hunt me. You'll condemn me. Set the dogs on me. Because that's what needs to happen. Because sometimes truth isn't good enough.
Picking up where Batman Begins left off, director Christopher Nolan improved upon everything, from the action to the real-world commentary to the villain, in a posthumous performance that earned him a well-deserved Oscar. Heath Ledger molded the Joker from a comic book villain to the embodiment of terror.
You have all these rules, and you think they'll save you.
Who's in control? I have one rule.
Oh, then that's the rule you'll have to break to know the truth.
It's often said that Joker is Batman's opposite. Really, though, Joker is the antithesis of Harvey Dent's White Knight. Sometimes, opposites are just one bad day away from being identical, however.
Okay, fine. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
This is where Batman comes in, traversing the lonely line between nobility and darkness on the double-headed coin of justice.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.